Can you hear me properly? Right. I need some response from you to confirm that. Can you hear me properly? Are you there, students? Right. Okay. Okay, students, I got your response. Thank you very much. Okay, and now we can move for the lecture. First of all, I am going to share the screen with you. Right. Now I have shared the screen with you. Right. Please confirm that also. Right. Can you see the shared screen? Is it visible for you, the shared screen? All right. Okay. There is a problem in the recording also. Let's see. Recording, it shows recording is already started, right? So from my side, I can resume recording and stop recording. Only two options are there. I think the recording has started, right? Please check that. All right, now the option has changed. So I can make a request to
Recording
record.
in progress.
Right, okay. Now the recording has started, right? Okay, just fine. And students, please tell me, can you see the shared screen? Is it visible for you, the shared screen? Okay, right. Thanks for your response. Okay, right, students. Today we are going to start lecture 10. Lecture 10 means a new chapter. This is called classes and objects. This is something important, right? So up to today we did programming, but in a different style. Today we are moving to a new style. New style means this is something easier than before, right? Easier than before, that is one option. The other one is this is something efficient than before, right? Easier and efficient, because this method is very easy to understand, very easy to use, and there is another advantage: we can reuse these things. Reusable. That's why I am telling like that. Okay, right. Let's see. I'm moving for the first slide. This is the introduction. Program needs to represent real world entities. Always, why we are writing programs? Because we need to represent real world entities. Just as an example, if I need to store student records, right? I can create some variables and I can store the relevant data that I want, right? Some simple entities can be represented through Python's basic data types. Just like if you want to store temperature, we can create a variable. If you want to store a year, we can prepare a variable. A name, we can prepare a variable, right? But in real world, we have something different situations also, right? There are some situations just like employees, students, customers, products, right? That entity is having multiple attributes. Just like what I am explaining today. Take student as an example. For student, we have different attributes. Just like student first name, student middle name, student last name, student's age, student phone number, student address. Likewise, we have different attributes. And also there are some methods the student can do, the things the student can do, just like learn, read, write, that type of things. So at that type of situation, what we are going to do, right? Let's take some example here. If we consider a person, right? Normally a person is having a name, a person is having some age, and person is having some gender. Let's take 3, right? So to store these details, we need to prepare 3 different variables. That is the basic version. Basic version means the basic method that we can use, right? We have to create one variable as person's name, another variable as person's age, the other one as person's gender. But it's not practical. For one person, we have to create 3 variables. For one person. What about if we have 100 persons? We have to create 300 variables. It's not practical, right? The next method that we can apply for this is by using a list like this, what you can see in your slide. Here we can create a list called person, and we can store the name as the first parameter, the value of the age as the second parameter, the value of the gender as the third parameter. Then we can store like this. The first line shows how to store the relevant data, and the second line shows if we needed something to print, how we can do. Here print name, and we have to give the proper index, the required index for that. So we need to know that where is the name of this person. Here person is the name of the list, and within the square brackets we have to mention the index number. So index 0 contains the name of the person. If you want to print the age, we have to give the relevant index, index 1. So students, this one is also not an efficient way. Why I am telling like that? Because per person we have to create a list. If we have 100 persons, we have to create 100 lists. This is not practical, right? So we need some method for this, easy method, efficient method for this. That's why we are coming for classes. First of all, we should know what is a class. අයි මුලින්ම දැනගන්න ඕනේ මොකක්ද මේ ක්ලාස් එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. ක්ලාස් එකක තියෙන විශේෂත්වය, ක්ලාස් එකක අඩංගු දේවල් මොනවද? Here, classes in programming allows us to create custom data structures of our own. We can create structures. Right? We can create structures according to our requirement. There is no permanent or fixed structures, right? So we can create structures according to our requirement. අපිට ඕනේ හැටියට structure එකක් හදාගන්න අපිට මේකෙදි පුළුවන් classes වලදී, right? Classes are composite data structures. Why we call this one as composite? Because there is a meaning of this word composite. They are made up of multiple basic data types. What is this? Class එකක් ඇතුලේ අපිට data types එකකට වඩා store කරගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Here now you can see this graphical example. they can have name properties. We call it as an attributes inside them. Class එකක් ඇතුලේ අපිට පුළුවන් අපිට අවශ්‍ය attributes create කරගන්න. We can create any number of attributes that we want. So we call these attributes as properties of the class. Class එකක properties කියලා තමයි මේකට හඳුන්වන්නේ. Here, let's see. Customer class. So, what are the things we needed? Because we are going to represent a real world thing inside this class. In real world also we have customers. So we have to think what we need to identify a customer. Right? So we can find like this. We need a name for the customer. We need an address of the customer. We need a phone number of the customer. Right? Mainly we need name, address and phone number. Other than that, if you need more, you can apply more. There is no limitations. Right? No limitation just like only 3 attributes, only 4 attributes, likewise. No. If you need, you can put hundreds of attributes according to your requirement. කිසිම limitation එකක් නැහැ. ඕනේ numbers ප්‍රමාණයක්, ඕනෙම attributes ප්‍රමාණයක් අපිට class එකක් ඇතුළට දාන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Here, first of all, we just want to understand what is a class. Now we know inside the class we can put some attributes. Right? A class is just a blueprint or template of data structure. Class එකක් කියන්නේ data store කරන තැනක් නෙමෙයි. Right? It's not a place where we can store the data. The answer is no. Class means the structure. This is just like a bookshelf. Inside the library we have bookshelves. But bookshelf is a place to put some data, but not the data. Right? It's a structure. Right? So if we want, we can put the data inside that structure if we want. Right? So bookshelf එකක් කියන්නේ structure එකක්. එතකොට මේ structure එක කියන්නේ data නෙමෙයි. හැබැයි අපිට අවශ්‍ය නම් ඒ structure එකේ විදිහට අපිට data store කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So if you want, we can keep books inside that shelf. Right? So in this case, what we can understand, a class is a structure. To use a class, we have to create instances from the class. Right? When we need to store the data, we can't directly put data into the structure. We can't directly put the data into the class. Before that, we have to create something new. What is this? We call it as an object. So we are going to create an object by using that class. And just after that, we can keep the data inside that object. Right? Here, this is something good example. Here, the class here, on top of that, here, the class is called car. Car. Car means a general term, right? Car is having a brand, car is having a model, car is having some engine power, likewise car is having some color, right? There are some different attributes. But if you want to store some data, we have to create object first. Here, we are creating an object by using the class. What is actually this object? We are creating this one according to the structure of the class. We are using the same structure. right? We are using the same structure, and what's the difference between the class and object? Class is only the structure, but object is using that structure to store the relevant data, right? That's the difference between an object and a class, right? Class means always the structure. Class එකකින් structure එකක් විතරයි. What is object? Object using the same structure to store the data. ඒ structure එකම පාවිච්චි කරනවා, හැබැයි ඒකට data store කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So, just like that. Right? Just like that. So, here there is some structure. Now you can see that structure. But you are not going to store the data into that structure. ඕගොල්ලෝ දැන් structure එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා පේනවා. ඒකේ data store කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. ඕගොල්ලෝ ඒ same structure එකෙන්ම object එකක් හදාගෙන ඒ object එකේ තමයි data store කරන්නේ. Right? Class එකකින් හැම වෙලාවෙම පෙන්වන්නේ structure එක පමණයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකේ තියෙන attributes මොනවද, methods මොනවද කියන දේ විතරයි. හැබැයි අපිට store කරගන්න ඕන වුණාම අපි ඒ class එකේ structure එකෙන්ම හදා ගන්නවා object එකක්. ඒ object එකේ තමයි අපි data store කරන්නේ. Right here. Now I am going to explain this thing. There is a customer class. Here, customer class. Few minutes ago we have discussed about this. This is the class. Customer class. What are the attributes inside the customer class? Name, address, phone. These are the attributes. But we are not going to store the data inside this because this is the class. This is only the structure. Now we are going to do what? We are creating objects. Here, this is one object. But we are using the same structure called customer, but two different objects. Now you can see here the same structure. We have name, address, phone, but here we have the data also, right? Inside the name attribute we have some name, inside the address attribute we have some address, inside the phone attribute we have a phone number. Here these are the data items, right? These are the data items, but we already use the same structure, right? Here we call this one as an object, right? One object. This is another object. Another object means the same structure but different data. Here different name, different address, different phone number, right? එකම structure එක හැබැයි data වෙනස්. customerගෙන් customerට අපි store කරන data වෙනස්. හැබැයි එකම structure එක. structure එක ආවේ අපිට කොහෙන්ද? ඒක ආවේ class එකෙන්. ඒ class එකේ තියෙන structure එක එහෙම්ම පාවිච්චි කරලා අපිට අවශ්‍ය data store කරනවා. So if we have 100 customers, we have to create only 100 objects. All 100 objects use the same structure indicated by the class, right? The same structure for all 100 objects. That's the way, right? Now students, please tell me up to this point what I have explained to you. Are you clear with this thing? Up to this point I am asking, we did only 6 slides, the content of 6 slides. So what is your idea? Have you understood this concept? I am asking this question before going for the next slides. Okay, right? Okay students, thank you very much for your response. Right, good. Now I am going to explain another thing. It means now we are moving for the programming part. Up to this point what I have explained the theoretical background of these classes and objects. Now we are moving for programming. Here, class is the keyword. If we want to create a class, the keyword is class, the red color word. Then just after this keyword, we are going to put the class name, right? We can use any class name that we want, but we can't use keywords. That's the only limitation. We can't use keywords. Other than that, any name you can put here. Now in this case, it shows like this: name and age, two attributes. At the same time, we have assigned some values. This is not a correct way, right? So if we put like this is only for one time, right? I will explain it for you in next few slides. This is not the correct way, but here you can understand. If we want, we can do like this also. මේ method එකකින් උනත් අපිට දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි නිවැරදි ක්‍රමය අපි ඊගාවට ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. right? මේ දැනට කරලා තියෙන්නේ class එකක් ඇතුළෙම class person කියලා class එකක් හරි ගස්සලා ඒකට attributes දෙකක් දාලා එවලෙම යම්කිසි data දෙකක් store කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ data දෙක මේ class එකට තියෙන default data වෙනවා. right? හැබැයි මීට වැඩිය අපි නිවැරදි ක්‍රමයේ ඉස්සරහට ඉගෙන ගන්නවා කරන විදිය. මේ දැන් අපි basic එක ඉගෙන ගන්න හින්දායි මෙතන මේ විදියට දාලා තියෙන්නේ. So we already put Alan as the name, 20 as the age. How to create objects from the class to use it. As I told you before, defining a class is not enough. Why is that? Because class is only the representation of the structure. Class එකෙන් පෙන්නන්නේ structure එක විතරයි. Here, now we are going to learn how to create an object. When we are creating an object also, we can use any name that we want, but you can't use keywords, right? Here, this is the name of the object P1, and we can use the assignment operator. Then we can use the name of the class. So name of the class means you have to put the correct name of the class. Here, person, P capital. So lowercase, uppercase also you have to consider, right? You know that Python is a case sensitive language. Because of that, you have to properly put the name, person, and empty pair of brackets. This is the way of creating an object in Python, right? This is the basic level, right? So we are moving step by step to advanced level, but at the basic level you should know how to create an object. So name of the object, assignment operator, name of the class, then just after that empty pair of brackets. So if you want to prepare another object, just put another name, assignment operator, the class name with empty set of brackets. So these are the two objects, P1 and P2. This is the basic version, right? Here. Now you can see, if we print P1.name, now we have an object called P1. So P1 means the object which is created by using the person class, right? So person class, we can access the person class by using this object, right? We can access. So I am going for a graphical explanation for this. So what we are doing here, right? I am partitioning the screen into two sections and I am going to explain this. Right. Here, students, now first I am going to explain about this class. Here, now here we have created a class called person. Person. This is the class. In this method, we have created the class called person. Right? Here, this is the class. This is class. And here there is the first attribute called name. For that one, we have already assigned Alan. Then the next one is age, which is assigned 20. Inside the class, we have assigned two data items. Now, by using this class, we have created two objects, P1 and P2. Here, these are the objects. One is called P1. The other one is called P2. This is P2. Right. So, I'm writing it down as these are objects. Right. This one is an object. This one is also an object. Right. Here, the same structure. Here, same structure means for this P1 also we have name attribute and also age attribute. This P2 is also having name and age. But unfortunately, at this moment, we have only created the objects. Still, we haven't assigned any data items to these objects. Now, currently, we have the data inside the class. Right. Now, what we can do? As I told you before, by using these objects, we can directly access the class. Here, we can directly access the class by using these objects. Right? Then here, students, you can see inside the print function, we are using p1.name. So, p1 means this object. Through this object, we are accessing this class. And we are calling the name attribute P1, go to the class, then name. Then what we are getting? We are getting this data which is stored inside the class. That's why we are getting this output as Alan. But inside this object, we haven't assigned any data items. Now you can see. In here what we are doing, through this object, by using this object, we are accessing this class and we are reading the data which is inside this attribute. මේ object එක පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි මේ class එක access කරලා ඒ class එක ඇතුළේ තියෙන attribute එකේ store කරලා තියෙන data එක තමයි අපි මේ print කරන්නේ. Right? The same thing here. Inside print p1.age, p1 object, then we are accessing the class and we are reading this attribute called age. It means we are reading the data which is inside that attribute. That's why we are getting 20. Right? So this is the very basic example for person, class and the objects. Right. Now, in the next slide, I am going to explain how we are going to store a new data items. Right? Here you can see this one, p2.age. Here, this is the program code, p2.age, and we are going to assign the assignment operator 25. So what is this? P2. P2 means this object, right? So p2.age, p2.age, and we are going to assign some data item. We are not going to retrieve. In the previous slide, what you can see, we are going to retrieve the content which is inside that. But here, we are not going to retrieve, we are going to store. Right? Now what happened, students? Here, if we try to access through P2 and go to the class, and we can access age, inside age, there is a data value. Right? There is a data value. It's already assigned. But now we are going to assign a new data item. So at that time, what happens? Inside P2, we are using the same structure. We have age attribute inside the P2 object also. Then we are assigned 25 into this age object. So here we are going to assign 25. Here we are going to assign 25. Now we have 25 here. This is how we are going to assign new data item to a new object. Right? This is the correct way. Few minutes ago I told you this is not a correct way. Right? We can't, actually we can, but it's not the correct way, because assigning data items inside the class, it's not the proper way. Class එකක් ඇතුලේ data item store කරන එක proper way එක නෙමෙයි. මෙන්න මේ ක්‍රමය තමයි proper way එක. Right? ඒකයි මම කිව්වේ මේක basic level එක හැටියට ඉගෙනගෙන ඉස්සරහදී අපි මේකේ නිවැරදි ක්‍රමය ඉගෙන ගමු කියලා. එතකොට දැන් මෙතෙන්දි මම ඔයගලන්ට කියන්නේ P2 කියන object එකේ age කියන attribute එකට අපි new value එකක් assign කරන්නේ මේ ක්‍රමයට. එතකොට data item එක assign වෙන්නේ object එක ඇතුලේ. Right? That's the way. එතකොට මෙතෙන්දි කලින් example එකේ මම පෙන්නුවේ මේ P1 කියන object එකට data item store කරන එක නෙමෙයි, ඒ object එක use කරලා class එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන data items access කරන විදිහ. දැන් මෙතෙන්දි මම explain කරන්නේ අලුත් data item එකක් කොහොමද object එකක් ඇතුළට store කරන්න කියන දේ. Right? That's the two there. It means this is not the same thing, two different behaviors. Right? Two different behaviors. Right. Now I am going to explain the correct way. I told you before, right? Few times I told you this is not the correct way. අපි class එකක් ඇතුලේ data store කරන එක correct way එක නෙමෙයි කියලා මම කීප පාරක් කිව්වා. Now I am going to explain the proper way. දැන් අපි basic එක තේරුම් ගන්න තියෙන හින්දා දැන් අපි හරි ක්‍රමයට යමු. Here. This is the correct way. Now you can see the program code. Class student. Class student means we are creating a class called student, like this. Student. So we have index, that is one attribute, and name. Now you can see, students, here the assignment operator is there, but no value is assigned. Only empty single quotes are there. Empty single quotes means no value, empty. Here student class with two attributes. We are not going to assign values. This is the class. right? Now in the next line here, this just after this, we are creating an object called S by using student class. Here we are creating an object called S by using the student class. This is an object. Here by using this line S assignment operator student empty brackets. This is the result. We are creating an object. Once we have created an object, the same structure is using here. It means we have index and also we have name. Same structure. Now we can assign the values. Here s dot index, right? S dot index. S is the object name, index is the attribute. So we can put the value 1 7 then 4 zeros x, right? Yes, 4 zeros x. This is index. Then s dot name ABC Pereira. Here we are going to put s dot name attribute ABC Pereira, like this. Here the same structure we are using, same structure. Here same structure. Now what happens if we use print function, and inside the print function if we put s dot name, s is the object, name is this attribute, we are taking the content which is inside this name and we are printing that. So if we put print s dot name, so what is the output? Output on your screen like this, ABC Pereira, because we are reading the content which is inside the object, and the output looks like this, right? So that's the thing you need to understand, right? Now students, before going for the next part, I just want to confirm about your understanding, right? Please tell me, have you understood this concept properly? Once you have understood, please give me some response. Up to this point, are you clear? Perfect, right? Okay, what about the others? Have you understood, students? I got only one response. I just want to confirm all of you understood this concept successfully before going for the next one, right? If you have some matters, students, anytime, just talk to me or just send me a chat message, right? Through the chat. Right, okay. Right, perfect, right, all of you understood, right? Thanks for your response, students. Right, now I am moving for another section. It means how we can improve this concept, right? Okay, here predefining property values is not very useful. We can also provide the values for the attributes at runtime when the object is created, right? As I told you before, we are not going to assign the values initially. It means we are not going to predefine. When we are going to assign the values, කොයි වෙලාවටද අපි values assign කරන්න යන්නේ? We need to store the values when we create the object. at the moment of create the object. Object එකක් හදන වෙලාවේ තමයි අපි values assign කරන්න ඕනේ. ඊට කලින් නෙමෙයි. Right. For this purpose, we have to use a special function. Right. To do this process, we need a special function. We call this function as init function. The actual name for this function is constructor, right? Default constructor, or we can call it as constructor, right? Here, this is the default constructor of a class, right? So I will explain what is the meaning of this thing, right? Here I'm going to write the same thing. Class, the name of the class is person, then colon, then inside the class we are going to create this init function. We call it as a constructor. Def is the keyword to create a function. Then here students, double underscore, the name of the function is init. We can't use different name for this, okay? We can't use. The name for this constructor is init. Init indicates initialization. Init කියන්නේ initialization කියන meaning එකේ shorten form එක. Init. Then just after that double underscore. Then here there is a term called self. I will explain why we need self, right? Self. Then comma, name, age. Now you know these are the parameters of this function. Parameters. Then inside the function, it means we have to maintain this indentation. Self dot name, assignment operator and name, self dot age, assignment operator, age. Right. Now what is this self? The self refers to the class itself and is used to access variables that belongs to the class. Here, this is the class person. This is the content inside the class. Meaning of self means we are referring the same class. Self කියන්නේ අපි refer කරන්නේ මේ class එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන දේවල්ම තමයි කියන එක තමයි meaning එක. Self. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි වෙනත් class එකක තියෙන attributes access කරන්න යනවා නෙමෙයි. We are not going to access attributes in a different class. No. We are accessing attributes of the same class. Here, self.name, right? Name attributes which is inside the same class. Self.age, we are accessing the attribute which is inside the same class, right? Because when we are doing advanced programming, students, we can access attributes in a different class also, right? Not in this subject. When you are studying advanced programming, right, in object oriented field, you can go for advanced programming. At that time there are some options to access attributes in different classes, not in the same class, right? So the Python system should understand where are these attributes. මේ attributes කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ කියලා Python system එක දැනගන්න ඕනේ. ඒකයි අපි මෙතන කියන්නේ self කියලා. Self means inside the same class. Attributes are inside the same class. එහෙම දෙන්න හේතුව තමයි මම කිව්වේ because there is some other option In advanced Python programming, we can access attributes in different classes also. අපිට අවශ්‍ය නම් වෙනත් class එකක තියෙන attributes අපිට මේ class එකේ ඉඳන් access කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right? That's why we are giving the Python system this keyword, because Python system knows we are accessing the same attributes which is inside the same class. Right? ඒක මේ self කියන වචනේ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Okay? Right. Here. Now just after that, now this is the class. Then here just after that we can create P1. P1 means the first object that we are going to create by using the person class, the same name. And here initially I told you we are using empty brackets, right? I think you can remember. Initially we have used empty brackets, but that is the basic version. Now we are one level up. Now what we are going to do, we are opening the brackets, right? And what is the meaning of this thing? Once we call this class name with brackets, it automatically goes to the constructor. Here we are calling the constructor. Here, what is this? This is calling constructor. Right? This is the constructor. Construct of the person class. Right? This is the construct of the person class. Now here we are calling the constructor. Now when we are calling the constructor, what we should give? We should give the values for these parameters. When we are calling a function, we should give values for these parameters. First we have to give name, right? Here name is a string, we have to use double quotes, John. Then close the double quotes, comma, and we need to give some age, 36. Right? Now what happens after doing this? This is the graphical explanation. This is only for your reference students. What happens just after this? It will create an object called P1, and for name it assigned as John, and for age it assigned as 36. Right? So this object is created. Right? This is actually the result of this program code. Right? It will create an object with two attributes. For name is assigned John, for age it's assigned 36. Right? This is the correct way of creating a class and creating an object. Right? In the next line we are creating P2 person, then two values for two attributes, Clara 22. So what happens? Again create a new object called P2. Other than this, we are creating another new one, P2, name is Clara, age is 22, another object. Likewise, we can create any number of objects that we want. If we have 100 people, we can create 100 objects. 1000 people, 1000 objects. No limitation. Right? So this is the correct way. Right? Here now you can see this is the creation of the class. At that time we are not going to assign the values. We are creating only the structure. But here when we are creating the object, we are assigning the values. Right? This is the correct way, right? Okay, before moving forward, I just want to know about your status. Are you clear, students? Are you perfectly clear what I have explained up to now? Are you okay with this? Right. Okay. What about the others? Other students, I am waiting for your response. Right. Okay. So I'm waiting for the others. Right. Are you okay with the content, students? What I have explained up to now? I got only one response. That's why I'm asking. Right. If you have some matters, please tell me. I will explain it for you again. Right. Others? Right. Okay. Right. Okay, students. Thanks for your response. Then here. Now, what I have explained few minutes ago, the same thing you can see inside the slides. Right here, the initialization. Then here we have assigned John 36. It goes to this constructor and assigned to the object. Right, the same thing. Right. Here, similar example for that. Here, class student. This is the constructor. Here we have two attributes, index name. Here self.index assignment operator and index, self.name assignment operator name. Then we are creating an object called S by using the student class. Once we have called the class, it will calling the default constructor. Right? Here we are calling the default constructor. So how to call the default constructor? The same name of the class, and we are opening the brackets. Once we open the brackets, we must give the data. We must. So the first data item goes to the index and assign inside the index parameter. The second one goes to the name parameter and assign that value inside the name attribute. Right. Now, if we print s.name, what happened? Right? s.name. s.name means s is the object. Then we call name. It will print ABC Pereira. Right? ABC Pereira. The outputs look like this. So for this one also I'll put some, I'll give you some graphical explanation for proper understanding. Here in this example, there is a class called student, and inside that we have index and also we have name. Right, this is the class. Right, now this is the meaning of this one. After executing the class, we are getting this. Right, I'm sorry, we are getting this. Then I'm talking about this line. This line, we are creating an object. The name of the object is S, and we are assigning the parameters. The first parameter goes to index. Here, index. Then we are assigning this number 2, 1, 4 zeros and A. Then the second parameter goes for the name ABC Pereira. like this, right? This is the object, but we are using the same structure according to the class. Right here we are using print s.name. What will be the output? S means the object. Inside the object there is an attribute called name. We are taking the content and print it on our screen. So the output becomes ABC Pereira, right? ABC Pereira. So that's the way, right? This is the reference, okay? Like this, right? Now I think you have understood this concept well, right? By using this example also. And I would like to give you some exercise, just a small activity. What is this activity? A car has a brand, model name, and a make year. So what you have to do is define a class to represent this entity. Then just after that, create objects to represent the following two cars. One car is having these details, Toyota Corolla 2005. The other one is Nissan Leaf 2018, right? So now I am giving you the time. Take your time and prepare a class and prepare two objects including these data. Right. Are you ready to start the activity, students? You are ready? Okay. Are you ready? Right. Okay. Now just take 5 minutes and prepare yourself. Then I will discuss the answer. Right. Okay. Right, students? Are you finished? How many of you are finished, students? Those who are finished, just give me some response. Right. One student's already given a response. What about the others? Those who are finished, just give me a response. Then I know that you are finished. Then we can go for the discussion. Right? Once you have finished, please tell me. Right? Okay. What about the others? Now, two students response to my question. Right? What about the others? Right. Okay. Right. I think now all of you are finished, right? Okay, good. Right. Now let's move on to the explanation. A car has a brand, model name, and make year. A car has a brand, model name, and make year. So in this sentence, what we can capture? Car is the class. And what are the attributes inside this class? Brand, model name, make year. Right here. Car is the class. Then inside the constructor, so we have to put brand, model, and year. Then we have to assign this self brand, assignment brand, self model, assignment model, self year, assignment year. Right? Then create two objects to represent the following two cars. Here we have these two cars. So we are creating one object as Corolla. So you can use any, right? C1 or something, just fine, right? Corolla, or you can use C1, any name that you want. Other than keywords, you can put any name that you want to create an object. Here in this case, Corolla, and we are calling the name of the class and open the brackets. Open the brackets means we are calling the constructor. We are calling the constructor means we must give the data for brand, model, and year. Under the brand, it's Toyota. Under the model, it's Corolla. Under the year, it's 2005. Then we are creating the second object called Leaf. Then we are calling the constructor. Under the first parameter, we are giving the brand. Second parameter, the model. The third parameter, year. So this is your answer. So don't think about the name of objects, right? So you can use different object names, right? But if you prepare the class like this and the method of creating the objects like this, your answer is correct. Right? How many of you got the correct answers? Just give me some response. How many of you got the correct answers? Right, okay. What about the others? Right, okay. Okay, right, students. Good, right? Okay. Good. Okay, students. Thanks for your response. Now we can further proceed. Here, class methods. Up to now, we have discussed about class attributes. Likewise, we have some methods also. I told you when we were starting today's lecture, student is a class. So, to identify a student, we have student name, student age, student phone number, student address. Those are attributes. Other than that, I told you there are some activities the student can do. Student can read, student can write, student can learn. So these are the activities. So activities also we can put inside a class. We call these activities as methods. Here, like attributes, classes can have their own functions as well. Right? Functions defined inside the class known as methods. They are defined using the usual function syntax. Right? There is no new syntax. The same syntax what we have learned before, right? To creating a function, the same syntax we are using here. Right? So inside the class, we can create the function that we want. We can use any name that we want for functions other than keywords. Right. Here, now I am going for a good example, but this is little bit advanced. Right? So here, this is the thing. Here, on your left hand side, this is the class. And this is inside the main program, how we are going to create an object and how we are going to print something regarding that object. Here, now I am going to explain the left hand side first. Here, this is the left hand side. Here there is a class called shape. Right? Shape. And this is the constructor. Inside the constructor, you can see there are three attributes, x, y, and r. So self.x assigned to x, self.y assigned to y, self.radius assigned to r. Now you can understand r means radius. So radius for what? What is radius? Right? Radius කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? කොහෙදද radius කියන එක අපිට හම්බ වෙන්නේ? So radius means when we are talking about a circle, we are considering about a circle, from the middle point of the circle up to one edge. The distance from the middle point to one edge, right? Just as an example, here I'll show you that one, right? All of you know about that, but this is only for your reference. If it is a circle from the middle point to this, right? This distance is called radius, right? This is for circle. So how we are going to find the area of a circle? Area means vargapalaya. Area. How to calculate area of a circle? There is a formula called 5r squared. R means radius. 5 multiplied by radius, again multiplied by radius. But this is for a circle. What about if we have a rectangle? We can't use 5r squared. So for a rectangle, we have a length and a width. Length and a width. Just as an example, x and y. So how to find, right, the area of a rectangle? Area of a rectangle, x multiplied by y. Right? So, two different calculations. According to the shape, the calculation is different. If it is a circle, this is the way of finding an area. 5 multiplied by radius, again multiplied by radius. Here, 5 multiplied by radius, again multiplied by radius. But if the shape is a rectangle, how to find the area? X multiplied by y. It means width multiplied by length. right? So in this type of situation, we are not going to create two different classes for this. If we want, we can create separate class for circles, separate class for rectangles. But always we are doing something efficient. That's why we are creating a class called shape. According to the shape, we are executing a different function, different method. Here, inside this shape class, we have width, length, and also radius. We have all three things, but it depends according to our requirement. If we are preparing a circle, we are using only those attributes, the relevant attributes only. If we are preparing a rectangle, we are using the which is relevant to a rectangle, only those attributes. Here, these are two different methods under the same class, two different methods. Here, one method is get circle area. Get circle area. So how to find the circle area? Value of phi means 3.141592 multiply by self radius. Self radius is coming from the class. So what is self radius? It's r. R is coming from this parameter. So phi multiplied by r, again multiplied by r. This is phi r squared, and we are returning it. We are returning to where? To the calling place. Where we call the function, we are returning the output. Right. So there is another method, get rectangle area. So how to find the rectangle area? Self.x multiplied by self.y. Here, this one. Self.x, self.y. Here, xy parameters. Now I am going to explain. This is the class. This is how we are going to implement the class. This is how we are going to create objects according to our requirement. Here, we are creating an object called C1 and we are calling shape and brackets, pair of brackets. So shape means we are calling the init function which is inside the class. It means our constructor. We are calling the constructor. And here you can see, students, now in this case we are going to prepare a circle object. That's why we are not giving a value for the width. We are not giving a value for the length. No value for the width, no value for the length. We are only giving the value for radius, because we know that we are going to create a circle. Then we are going to use the object to call the method. Which method we are calling? Get circle area, not get rectangle area. Get circle area. Then it will calculate, because we already gave the value for the radius and we know the radius value. We are multiplying the radius value by 3.141592, the 5, again multiplied by the radius, and the final value is returned. The return value comes to here. Return value comes to here. This is where we call the function. To the same place we are getting the value, and we are inside a print. That's why we are printing the output like this, right? Then in the next one, I'm sorry, here is some printing mistake. This should be C2. We can't use the same object name, right? I'm sorry. Then this one, I'm sorry. This is a new object called C2. And here we are calling the constructor because we are calling the same name with brackets and we are giving x and y only. We are not giving r. We are not giving a value to radius. X and y. X and y means width and length. And we are calling here also it should be C2, not C1. Here C2 get rectangle area. We are calling get rectangle area. We are not calling get circle area. Right? We are calling get rectangle area because we already created a rectangle, not a circle. Get rectangle area. Here, once we call this, what happens? The 6 goes to here. Once we create the object, the 6 goes to x, the 10 goes to y. Now we have self x as 6, self y as 10. Then we are calling rectangle area. Inside rectangle area, it will multiply self x and self y. 6 multiplied by 10. Then the final result is 60. 60 is returned. Returned to where? Where we call the function. Here. Value 60 is returned to here. Here means we are inside a print. That's why we are getting the value as 60 in our output on our screen. Right? This is how these classes and objects and functions are working. Right. Have you understood, students, the concept? Right? I'm asking about the whole program that I have explained right now. Have you understood? Right? If it is not, if you have some small doubt also, please tell me. I will explain it for you again. Right? If you have some doubts, please tell me. Right? Okay. One student responded. So what about the others? If you are okay, just tell me. If you are not okay also, please tell me. I will explain it again. Right? I am waiting for the others. Okay, right. 2 students, right, 3 students. Sorry, right, okay. Others, please send your response also. It's very important for me because I just want to confirm. Right, okay. Right, why in get circle area also self parameter is used? Right, why get circle area? Right, this one. Why get circle area? Here also self parameter is used. Self parameter is used because, students, this is a separate function inside the same class, but these are two separate functions. This is one function, this is another function. Inside the function, if we are using an attribute, we have to mention where the attribute is in the same class or in a different class. I told you in advanced programming we can access attributes in different classes also, but in this function we are using the attributes which belongs to the same class. To indicate that, that's why we are using self.radius. In here self.x, self.y. To indicate that we are informing the Python system we are using the attributes inside the same class, not in a different class. Right? Have you got that? Is it clear for you? Right? The student who asked that question, are you clear with that? Right, okay. Right, students, if you have any small question, don't keep it in your mind. Right, please don't keep any doubt with you. any small question, any doubt, just talk to me or send me a message through the chat, right? Don't think about it, right? Anytime, right? There is no time to ask questions. Anytime you can ask questions in my lectures, okay? Right. I think all of you understood this, right? Perfect. Then we can move for the rest of the things, right? Now, students, you know that once we assign a data item to a variable, we can print the variable, right? So what I am telling is here, let's move on to like this. I am preparing a variable here called a, and I am assigning the value of 10. And if I want, I can print a. So what will be the output here? Output on our screen, we are accessing the variable a and get the content and print the content like this. We did this type of things. We can assign the value to the variable, we can print the variable. But we are giving the parameters that we want. Now the object is created, right? So how this object is created here? In here I am going to explain C1 circle. I'm sorry, this should be shape, okay? Is wrong. Shape. Right here, C1 shape 0, 0, 10. We are giving the value for only for the radius. So what happens? We are creating an object called C1 and no value for x, no value for y. For radius, we are giving 10. Right? These values are zeros. Only radius is given. Now the object is created. Right? Object is created. But we can't use print C1 like this. For variables, it's working. But unfortunately, for objects, no. We are not getting a proper output. So if we print like this, we are getting an output like this, right? For objects, we can't apply the same method, right? So if we are unable to apply the same method, there is a method for that. For objects, what we can do, if we want to print an object, we need a method. Right? We can't use the same method just like we did for variables. We need some other method. Here, this is the method that we can use for objects. Right? We call this one as string method. Right? String method. But we should implement